You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Really looking forward to today's Friday review. Now, typically I'm bringing you some of my favorite books, maybe my favorite nutritional supplements, programs, products, all these different things that I use in my own practice, my own life, my family, all these different things that I typically really enjoy using. And I, of course, want to share them with you. But one thing I wanted to do today is because I've gotten this question a couple of times now, is I wanted to share a topic with you specifically on our Friday review that I believe could help a lot of health and fitness practitioners take their own education to the next level. So that's why it's part of our Friday review. It's an actual educational-based program. But I know that maybe only, let's say, a third of all of our listeners are health and fitness practitioners, and the rest are everyday people that want to get more out of their life. From a wellness perspective, a weight loss perspective, they want to age better, they want to live longer, stronger, and that's what we're all about. So I think everyone's going to be able to get a lot of information out of this. I've been using these techniques for 20 years, and honestly, I've learned a lot in this field as well, tremendously. It all started back when I got my National Academy of Sports Medicine personal trainer certification. Literally, I'm thinking back right now, 17 years ago. It's hard to believe that much time has passed. It's actually insane to think that. But that is when I got it 17 years ago. The organization was just kind of really coming around, and very little was known about them, but I had the good fortune of being introduced to them. And they started to take what we'll call functional fitness to the next level. Now, there's drawbacks to every certification, right? But it's a very good certification, and I can recommend it. That's not what I'm here to talk about today. But what I want to talk about is one of the things that they taught within that program, which is assessing your posture. So why do I care so much about posture? Why would I want to bring this topic to you, whether you're a health professional or not? And then I'm going to tell you about the organization right now that if you want to take this, if you want to become a specialist in this institute is absolutely phenomenal. I want to share that with you. But let's get to the content first. Let's talk about why this even matters. So when we're talking about our posture, people just think about, oh, well, I have rounded shoulders. I'm kind of slouched forward over my desk or at the wheel of my car, or my back is swayed, meaning like that swayed lower back. We call that lordosis or a lordotic curve. The rounded shoulders would be kyphosis or kyphotic posture. So if you hear me say that, that just means the rounded shoulders. It's that swayed back too that leads to a lot of other issues. And that's what I want to talk about right now because, again, people like, oh, I really need to fix my posture. But you need to fix your posture, not just so that you'll look better with better posture, right? Because if we pull our shoulders back, if we stand up taller, we are going to, I believe that the human body is going to look better. You're not going to be as just kind of relaxed, rounded forward. But it's not about that. Because here's why. When you have that pot belly, kind of where your stomach's just sticking out, you are not engaging your core at all. You're just letting those muscles stay relaxed. When you allow your muscles to stay just like that relaxed, catatonic, what happens is the actual skeletal system. So the actual skeletal system starts to have to take more of that weight, more of that stress. And it's your muscles that are supposed to hold the skeletal system in place. I'm going to give you the whole plumb line. I'm going to give you everything in 1 second. But here's the other bigger thing as well. I see a lot of people who lock out their knees all the time. They start to get varicose veins. They start to get pooling of blood in the calves. It is so bad for the entire body to lock out your knees, which then leads to this, I would say, cascade event up the kinetic chain. And what does that mean? Well, it means this. When you have collapsed arches, you lock out your knees, you sway your lower back, you round your shoulders, and your head comes forward, which I'm describing a lot of people out there, whether you know it or not. That can then lead to so many other things such as muscle fatigue because your body's out of alignment. You're compensating with muscles and joints in an improper way, an unnatural way. It leads to all sorts of aches and pains in the body, like the lower back. My lower back's stiff. Well, your lower back is stiff because it's so arched. Those muscles are contracted. The erector spinae are contracted in ways that they shouldn't be. The quadratus lumborum are contracted in a tightened position. That should not happen that way. A lot of lower back injuries are caused like this as well from those tight hamstrings, the tight hips. And that's because we have this swayed back. We have the rounded shoulders. But a lot of people also don't associate headaches and all of this tension that they have in the back of their head and in their neck to poor posture, not just rounded shoulders, but all the way down. Again, it's those collapsed arches. It's the locking out of the knees when you stand, or maybe just even one knee, or just shifting all the way down to one side, which a lot of people do. Or the rounded back, or the rounded shoulders, or something which is called cervical flexion. That literally means you're taking your chin and it's sticking out in front of your body. So I catch myself doing that all the time, and I'm going to talk about those tips of how to fix this. So when this happens, though, when we did the cervical flexion, we stick our head forward like at a computer screen or driving. We immediately start to build up tension in the trapezius muscles. Now, we might not get the headache. We might not feel the tension right away, but it's the accumulation of these things that lead to degenerative disc-based issues and larger aches and pains down the road, because it's typically it's not just a one-time thing. That's the whole point of all of this, is that very rarely do you do one thing, unless it's an acute injury, where all of a sudden you get the pain. No, it's an accumulation of hours, days, weeks, months, and years of doing this. Poor posture at your desk. We'll talk about how to fix it in a moment, but just keep in mind, you have to become cognizant of these things that are going on. You have to actually assess your posture. So one of those things that I was talking about with NASM, and I'll actually just give you the name of the institute now that's doing just amazing work. They're called the American Posture Institute. I'm going to be talking about that. If you're a health and fitness professional, what does that mean? If you're an acupuncturist, if you're a chiropractor, if you're a personal trainer, if you're a nutritionist who wants to get more into exercise physiology, or basically the physiology of the body, if you're anyone that wants to help people from a biomechanical basically disorder perspective, meaning that someone's out of alignment, and this could be why they're always in pain. This could be why their immune system isn't functioning as well, because it's stressed. So people don't know this, but literally all of your nerves become stimulated off of your spinal column. So it's a really important thing to look at. So if you have any subluxations of the spine caused by improper posture, that can actually affect your immune system. It can affect any gland in your body. So we'll talk about them in a bit, just because, again, I believe in what they're doing. In my job, I believe with the Cabral concept is just keep trying to point you in the right direction to all of these great people. So let's first become cognizant. Let's first become aware of our posture. So one thing they teach with the American Posture, but also other organizations, is basically have a full-length mirror. And then don't try to fix your posture. Just stand normally, because everybody knows when we're trying to assess your posture, all of a sudden your posture gets better. So you have to be honest with yourself. Maybe just stand there for a minute and kind of see what happens to your posture. All right, stand there. Look to the side in the mirror or look in front of you. Two ways to assess this. I'm going to teach both right now. If you're looking straight ahead in the mirror, are your feet pointed out? Are they pointed straight ahead, or are they pointed in? All different types. It should be pointed straight ahead. Your feet should be about hip width apart, not wider, not closer. You want to actually look, is one shoulder higher than the other? Because that can show tension on one side or the other. It can show actually a dysfunction. Remember, everything starts from the ground up. I don't want to teach the entire physiology of the body all in one podcast, but everything starts at the ground up. So if you're standing there barefoot, are your feet collapsed? Are you shifted? Is one hip lower than the other? That will probably dip that same shoulder as well. That will cause, again, tension in the neck and shoulders. Do you see your shoulders rounded forward? And a big one that I've been taught this and I look for it. How many knuckles can you see in the mirror when you're facing forward? Can you see just the index finger and just a little bit of the middle finger as well as your thumb? Or can you see 3 or 4 of the knuckles? Can you see all 5? That will show you if you have kyphotic posture. That means rounded shoulders. Remember, in time, that will cause more aches, pains, tightness through the chest, and SCM muscles in the neck. There's a reason why after you get a massage or after you get adjusted by a chiropractor, you're tight again a day or 2 later. And that's because your posture hasn't changed. So yes, get the massage. That's incredible. Go to the chiropractor. That's fantastic. Have them do some active release work. Have them do, all sorts of different great methodologies, which I'll talk about in the future, but then also do the work on your own as well, which we'll talk about in a minute. Okay. So you've assessed your front posture, one shoulder higher than the other. How many knuckles can you see? One hip lower higher than the other. Knees locked out, if you can see that. Swayed, collapsed arches. Okay, now face perpendicular to the mirror and look over your shoulder, or have someone do this. A good qualified personal trainer can do this, a chiropractor, muscular therapists, many, many different people, right? Naturopathic doctors, some of them get into this, DOs, of course. So what are we talking about though? This is my favorite, assessing from the side. I get to see, looking at someone, are they locking out their knees? And again, you have to just go with your natural posture, okay? How swayed or not swayed are their back? I'm also looking at the hips. You've heard me talk about this before on Training Thursdays. Is there an anterior pelvic tilt? Look at your hips as a bucket of water. Is the bucket tipping forward? Is it tipping backwards, spilling out backwards? That's called a posterior pelvic tilt. That's something very different. It's more of a swayed or an S back. Or is it neutral? Are your hips level where the water wouldn't spill out? You want neutral, of course. But most people, I shouldn't say most people, but a lot of people have an anterior pelvic tilt, which then tightens up their lower back. Now they go to squat. They go to do a kettlebell swing. They go to all these things and they get injured or they get hurt. Well, it wasn't the exercise's fault. The exercise is neutral. The problem was you went to do this exercise. You came into it with a swayed back. You went to squat deep and now it's stretching. It's stretching on those tight muscles. And then all of a sudden they get a pull. Well, the exercise is neutral. Your body was tight. Do your foam rolling. Do your postural correction. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But that's so important. The hips are so important. They really are. And then from there, look up the back. How rounded are the shoulders? Are they rounded forward? And then look at the ears. A perfect posture will look like this. Your ears are lined up directly over your shoulder, over your hip, over your knees, over your ankle. It's called a plumb line. If you were to hang a string from the ceiling, do your ears, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles, your ankle bone, all line up. And if they do, well, you're in pretty good posture. You're doing pretty well. Of course, we could probably make some adjustments. I try to make adjustments with myself every day. How do those adjustments come in? Well, here's what we need to do. When we're aware of our posture in the first place and how it should be, that's the first step. You can't fix your posture without even knowing what your posture is supposed to look like. And you can't just pull your shoulders back without pulling your chin back a little bit too. Because I see people pull their shoulders back and then their chin sticks out further. That's going to put a lot of stress in the back of the neck. Let's not do that. So let's be really gentle with the body. What I like to do is do some doorway stretches for your chest. And again, you can look up doorway stretch. Like you don't need me to do that. I'm giving you that information. But look up a doorway stretch for your pectoral muscles in your chest. Really incredible. You'll look at some foam rolling for your mid back. I've given lots of tips on foam rolling before, so check back. Just go to stephencabral.com/podcast. And why don't we just go today? We'll do this. We'll go to stephencabral.com/595. So stephencabral.com/595. I'm going to put my links in there. Put it to NASM. Put it to some of the foam rolling videos that I've done before, some of the stretches, and then, of course, which we'll talk about, just the American Posture Institute, which, like, that is next level. I mean, if you are a health professional and you're saying, I want to help people with this, I work with people in chronic pain. If you work with people in chronic pain, you should probably learn a lot about the neurology of the body. You should learn a lot about their posture, because if their posture isn't correct, you're always going to kind of be, both of you, you and your patient, you or your client, are going to be kind of banging your head against that wall. And so a big thing with me and a lot of health professionals as well, and I'll just go on a little aside here for a second, is that every year I have to keep up with my continuing education. Now, for me, I love to learn. Like, I'm a lifelong learner. It's what I get a lot of joy out of that. And I get a lot of joy out of finding out these new little things. So for me, this is great. But again, for everyone who's in the health profession, and even those who might just want to be getting into it, you have to do this. So you might as well go with some great organizations, get some CEUs, CECs, and keep going forward, keep moving forward. Such an amazing thing. But let's talk about right now, how can you correct your posture today? Well, there's a few things you can do. First, use the mirror as your guide. Every morning, look in the mirror. What's my posture look like? What do I have to work on? Okay. So then you can start being aware of it. Next, you have to say is, well, what am I commonly doing? Okay. Well, when I'm walking, I want to make sure that my shoulders are back a little bit. I want to be using my glutes to squeeze. That's going to help open up my hip flexors. When I'm doing my exercises, I want to try to stick with things like planks and a boat pose or a V pose. I want to do things like bridging. Remember, the bridge is one of the best exercises you can do. Why is a bridge a great exercise? Again, keep those knees together. You can put a little towel between it if you need to. And again, if you don't know what these are, we'll link them up today, or at least just search bridge or bridge exercise on YouTube, and you'll find lots of good examples. So a bridge is going to do a few things. It's going to activate the glutes. It's going to pull the shoulders back to the floor. It's going to open up the hip flexors in the front of your body, your psoas muscles, and it's going to start to strengthen the entire posterior chain. One of the best exercises you can do. So that's a great place to start if you can only pick one exercise to do. Helps so many people. I mean, really, really amazing. So I do like people doing that. It's a little easier than the Superman or Superwoman, however you want to call it. And then what I want you to do too is think about this. We're seated for so much of the day. A lot of us seated for so much of the day, whether we're in the car, whether we're at a dinner table, feeding our kids, or sitting on the couch, or just seated at work, right? So we have to look at that. What's our posture look like? What's our ergonomics look like? And I've done previous podcasts on that. So just, look up ergonomics or look at posture in previous podcasts because I've talked about that. And at your desk, you just can't be sitting forward all day, rounded with your shoulders, with your chin way in front of your neck, okay? So now it's going to happen. It's going to happen to all of us, without a doubt. I mean, I could be reading a book and then all of a sudden I'm just like way leaned in. So here's what to do. First thing I do is this. I ask myself, are my hips in a neutral position, or am I kind of rounded forward or arched forward with my back? Because that's my go-to. My go-to is sway out that back, lean against something to support my hips. It's a ridiculous thing. There's a little bit of that like genetic component to it. But again, genetics is an excuse to say that. But I just see people in my family like, why is everybody leaning with their hips like against a counter? Use your own body weight to support yourself. And it's just the human body wants the easy way out because it's just trying to conserve energy at all times. So it's normal. But so what I do is, are my hips in a neutral position? Am I leaning on something? If so, get myself off that object. I'm going to pull my shoulder blades back, but I'm not going to force myself. I'm pulling them back naturally. I'm raising up my rib cage and I'm keeping my chin slightly tucked in. That's it. Chin slightly tucked in, shoulder blades back, rib cage lifted, spine or hips neutral. And that's all I think about. Those four things: chin, shoulders, rib cage, hips. If you can just start there, you're going to be well on your way to getting rid of a lot of those like mid-afternoon headaches and tension in the neck. By then, it's all built up. So hopefully this podcast helped. Remember, there's so much to talk about on this topic. If you are a health, a wellness, some type of practitioner, personal trainer, massage therapist, muscular therapist, whatever it might be, I'm going to put up a link today. Just go to stevencabral.com/595. I'm not sure how long they're going to keep it open, but I know the American Posture Institute is doing a postural neurology, I believe, CU/CC based certification right now. So if you're looking for that, highly recommend it. For everyone else, of course, you could check it out as well, because this might be something that you want to get into. Like, this is your niche. This is what you specialize in, especially if you have your own discomfort, you can learn about it and then fix it. But what I want everyone to do is just start to give more attention to their posture. And if you have a friend, if you have a family member, if you have a coworker who's always complaining about tension in their neck and their trapezius muscles right on top of their shoulders, or their lower back or their hips, please pass this podcast on to them. Just get them started in the right direction. This might be all new to them, and that's okay. If a topic is all new to you, great. That's a great thing. I love that. Something's brand new to me. I'm like, how have I not heard about that before? But of course, that happens to me every single day of my life, and I love it because I have a new topic now to get interested in, to study. And again, if it applies to you, if this is something you need, look deeper into it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into another Cabral Concept. I appreciate each and every one of your listens. I hope you have an amazing weekend, and I'll talk to you tomorrow on our first Cabral Host Call of the weekend. Before you go, I wanted to ask you this question. What if I could teach you in just a couple of hours how to transform your thyroid, hormones, adrenal, cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, weight loss, energy, mood, brain, pregnancy, anti-aging, or many other health-related issues? After 20 years in private practice, after seeing and overseeing 250,000 client appointments, I sincerely feel I have the real-world data and have found the answer you've been searching for. So what I've done is spent hundreds of hours of my own time refining what you need to know in order to uncover your underlying root cause health issues and then begin to rebalance the body and bring it back to a state of robust health and wellness. I'm going to teach you exactly what I do in my private practice so you can understand how you got here and now what you need to do in order to heal. You'll receive all of the important success checklists, protocols, and even ways to customize it to make the program fit your busy life. And you'll get all of this at a fraction of the price. Let me save you the time, money, energy, stress, and frustration of not knowing what to do next. Instead of reading dozens of books on the topic and seeing multiple practitioners, I will condense everything that you need to know in just a few hours of video tutorials that you can watch and listen to anywhere. Together, we will make this healing process an enjoyable one that you can take with you for the rest of your life. I wish you all of the best of health and happiness, and I hope to be able to guide you on your healing journey through my Health Results Accelerators. Simply choose the health imbalance you're currently suffering from, and by the end of today, you'll know what went wrong and how to get well again. I guarantee it. For details, head over now to stevencabral.com/courses.